Here is the tale of how Lee and Wendy met Sally and Isabel and sailed from Malta to Tunisia. The island of Malta itself, which is 3 islands, is nestled in the Mediterranean Sea and has the oldest piece of freestanding architecture in the world, dating from 3900 BC. Our story starts in the capital city of Valletta. This was founded by the Knights of St. John of Jerusalem in the 1500s and was given to the knights for the price of 2 Maltese falcons. The order was filled with second and third sons of the royal families of Europe, so they had plenty of money, and their main job was to protect the Christian world from the world to the east, that is, the world of the Muslims. The city is a fabulous natural harbor, and it was easy for worldwide traveler to come in and find a place. Our hotel faced the marina, and we dragged our luggage down to the bottom of this hill, out through Victoria Gate, and found Lee, who met us in the dinghy and brought us over across the harbor to the boat. She is in the background. There's Isabel and me, our 3rd cousin once removed from England. We saw the boat also from the dock, and we then found Wendy, who had been off shopping, which is a big part of having a boat. She bought $600 worth of goods and had this nice man in green to help her get them aboard. And then we set off for our first adventure, which was the oldest city on the island, the city of Medina. Actually, it was built long before the Knights Templar arrived, but the last city you will see is from the Knights Templar era. It was all Roman Catholic, of course, and filled with fabulous houses, and all the problems of water supply and air conditioning were solved in various ingenious ways, including some problems with chastity. Here's a chastity belt. But our problems were more related with water. Here's a guy trying to fix our water maker. He failed, so we filled up the tanks and headed out for the Royal Malta Yacht Club. We had a lovely lunch and decided it was time to head on to the next destination, the island of Comino. Everybody gave their lessons to Isabel on how to sail the boat, and in no time we were there. Comino is famous for its blue lagoon, where we parked the boat rather unorthodoxly by throwing a line up to a rocky little promenade and tying off. Spent the night there, and in the morning we headed just across the harbor to Gozo. We found the harbor itself far too small, so we parked outside and took a taxi up to the El Gigante, named that because the people who built this are unknown and unnamed, and everybody assumed that it must have been giants who built it. It dates from 3900 BC, that's way before the pyramids, and it must have been a temple of some sorts, but they still don't know what it is. There are indications that there were wooden structures which these holes were set for, and there are various designs that we don't understand, but that must have had meaning to somebody. Back at the boat, we took a look at our saloon and decided we might as well just make our dinner and head right out for Tunisia. So, pulling up our lines, we pointed our boat west, and off we went towards the sunset. Motor sailing through the night, we arrived at the island of Limoso during the next day for a quick swim among the jellyfish. Then we headed on to Monastir, arriving very early the next morning. We had the Coast Guard at our boat bright and early. Lee made friends with the captain, and we were put in a lovely spot in the harbor, and we're soon ready with the proper attire to go explore Monastir. We found the central market, which was alive and well. Although it was Ramadan, no one was allowed to eat or drink water or smoke from sunrise to sunset, except, of course, us. The next day, we headed out to see the ancient Roman Colosseum at El Jeb. Built at the time of the 300 AD, actually, towards the end of the Roman era. This Colosseum is actually in better shape than the one in Rome, much less visited, as you can imagine, and sitting in the middle of this tiny little village of El Jeb. By now, Lee was getting accustomed to his harem, and we were almost getting Isabel accustomed to the idea of dressing appropriately. Our next stop was the little harbor of Calibia, where we hopped in a taxi to see the site of Kerkuan, an old Carthaginian village. Discovered quite recently, they are surprised to see it's full of private baths. Heading on around Cape Bon later that day, we arrived at another Roman site, this one a stone quarry. Our last stop was to find these hot springs that were on the chart, and we found them, but one was absolutely horribly filthy, and the next one was full of men who didn't want us there, and the only thing we got out of the project was a huge group of flies on board. They drove us crazy for 24 hours. In spite of a storm approaching, we headed for Tunis and the lovely harbor of Sidi Bou Said with its bougainvillea near the major city of Tunis, where we said goodbye to Isabel, then headed out for the weather station, which we finally found, and from there took the buses right out to the Bardo Museum. More wonderful Roman ruins set in a beautiful old palace. And then we went off to find the marketplace, headed back to the boat, and in the morning, after a beautiful sunset, we set sail for Majorca.